Welcome to Guns 101, our video welcome message for new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self Defense Gun Stories. My partners are Amanda Suffolcool from Eye on the Target Radio, and the guy behind the curtain, he's doing the heavy tech lifting. That's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Tom and Diane Walls with us tonight. They're from the Firearms Academy of Seattle. Tom, Diane, it's a pleasure. A lot of people brought this brand new gun home. Hopefully it's in a box, cardboard, plastic. How are we going to keep them safe till they can get into your classes during quarantine?
Well, thank you for the introduction, Rob. Yes, what do I do with this thing I just brought home? There's some habits that we need to establish right off the bat, and they're based on the 4 basic safety rules. Rule number 1 is all guns are always loaded. Treat them as they are, as if they are. Never.
There are a couple.
Rule number 1. So when you open the box, treat the gun as if it's loaded, and the other rules follow after that. Did you want to take rule 2, Tom?
Well, yeah, and the rules, you probably have heard these before, and you will hear them again, and that's okay. They need to be a habit. It's not like we have a set of rules for when we're in the house, because Diane and I handle guns every single day for uncounted decades, because we're old, and that's what we do for a living. If you only have one way to do it, there's only one way to do it. So yeah, all the guns are always loaded. Even the ones in the safe we have are loaded. Rule number 2, never let your muzzle, the front end of the, this is a dummy gun, by the way, I'll use this, a plastic gun. Never let this point at anything that you're not willing to destroy. That could be property, that could be you. Because all guns are always loaded. See rule number 1. It needs to be under your direct control to be able to make sure that that muzzle's not pointing at anything. What's rule 3?
Rule number 3, and again, we have a plastic dummy gun here, so I'm not pointing a loaded gun at anything I don't want to, is keep your finger off the trigger until you've decided that you need to shoot. I'm kind of paraphrasing the gun sight rule here, but that conscious decision, especially when we're talking about self-defense, is important. I like to make sure that I keep my finger up high on the slide for a semi-automatic, away from the front of the trigger guard, because anytime I could get startled or a hot piece of brass runs down my shirt, that finger can slide in there too easily. So get it up here out of the way. Keep it off the trigger until you make the decision that you need to shoot.
If you've got a revolver, you can put it up on this one. But the reason, again, with this dummy gun, that we keep it up so high is the hand closes and all the fingers come together and clench, and that happens to be what happens when you press the trigger. Your hand comes and clenches. There are 3 things that have been identified in the training world that can cause that to happen when you don't want it to happen. Okay, the first one is a startle reflex. Say boom, okay. When you do that, muscles clench, and you're frightened, and the gun goes bang. Okay. The second one is a postural disturbance. Okay, I trip, I fall, I'm clumsy. We go down, the hand clenches naturally, gun goes where, or finger goes where it's made to go. That's where the engineers put it, and that's why they put it there. Okay. And the third one is a little more complicated. It's called sympathetic muscle contraction. What you do with one hand, you tend to do with the other hand. So if you have the hand reaching for a doorknob and there's the bump in the night, and you contract this hand for the doorknob, you're contracting this hand, and guns going off when you don't mean to. There's a lot of videos of this, police body cams, people under stress. Stress makes the muscles come tight. So keeping the finger well away. Now, you might say at this point, oh, isn't this slower? No. We've measured it at the Firearms Academy, Seattle, and at FAS, we've done this a number of times. It runs, 0.06 of a second extra. So keep the finger well out of there so you can control it, okay? Don't point it at anything. you've got a laser beam. So where are we? Are we on
Rule number 4.
Go ahead.
Okay, rule number 4 is always be sure of your target. Make sure that you identify what you're going to shoot at. I mean, it's easy on a range. It's a piece of cardboard with a target on it.
I'm on target 4, so I'll shoot at 4. That's good.
Right. But in the self-defense realm, you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're shooting at, and not only what you're shooting at, who you're shooting at. That has to be the threat that you're shooting at. There can't be anybody beyond him that if the bullet went through, or if you were to miss, it would hit somebody else that might you didn't want to hit. It's what else?
It's kind of like you don't want to call the ambulance for the bad guy at first in Maine, and then for the victim at second in Maine, and third in Maine, and fourth in Maine. You need to know beyond you. You need to think 3 dimensions. You need to be aware of what will and won't stop bullets. You live in an apartment, you live in a house, drywall won't stop handgun bullets unless it hits a structural member, a brace or a 2x4 or something. We live in a home, just the 2 of us, where there's an upstairs and a downstairs and a basement. So if I'm, again, with this dummy gun, okay, and I'm downstairs and I point it like this, and Diane's upstairs, I'm pointing it at her. Just, I can't see her, but I know it's there. Be aware of where that's pointing. It's literally a laser beam.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys.
Please.
Yes. And the question is, you're instructors. You're instructors of the Firearms Academy of Seattle, but there's these 4 rules. They're really basic. Do you have to follow them once you get good at this? Do you follow them all the time?
Especially when you get good at this. The more you handle guns, the more likely you are to get complacent about rules. You have to make a habit out of these rules and do them every single time you pick up a gun, or even a gun-like object.
Yes, we're picking up, and I'm stopping and I'm looking at it. Is this a dummy gun? You can't see it in the camera, but right now this is pointing at a television. When she's picking up hers, it's a good 3 feet in front of me. It's just a habit. I mean, okay. You see where my finger is? You spray a bottle, you do the same thing. That way I don't have to make a decision under stress while I'm using my administrative, it's cool rules. Is it unloaded? Because always do it the same way. It's just so much simpler. You're not going to make great decisions under stress. You'll default to your training.
Okay.
Right. Simplification under stress is always a good thing.
Well, I have to say that you can tell a gun person when you see them with like a power tool or with a garden hose.
It's yeah, isn't it? But we do, yeah.
Spray cleaner, yeah, everything.
Exactly.
Number 5, it's not in the gun sight rules. We've been teaching at the Firearms Academy of Seattle for years. Other places do too. And essentially it paraphrases as, anytime the gun is not under your direct control, it needs to be secured.
Absolutely. And it's going to differ for everybody. If you've got small children in the house, you're going to need to have a lock box or something to put the gun in when it's not under your control, like when it's bedtime and you take the gun off. So you can put it away where they can't reach it.
This is an example. We use this to fly to because it's TSA approved. It's just a lockbox. It keeps little hands off of it. Okay, if I want to secure it in my luggage, it comes with a steel cable. I can secure this with a better cable to a structural member and maybe keep it from being a snatch and grab. I like the combination locks because I lose keys, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay. She's at me because I just lost my car keys last week for the first time in my entire life. But little things like that. The box the gun came in, if it's not cardboard, if it's securable, just to slow things down. When we are around the house, it's just the 2 of us. We don't worry about loose guns lying around. They're on our body. They're on our body now. We have direct control because that means it's in use. When we leave the house to go in town, we don't have loose guns lying around. We have to know where they are so we have control.
Absolutely.
We're responsible for them. And that's what it comes down to. You've got to be responsible for what you have and what you do.
Responsible gun ownership. Man, that is a concept. And that's something that we want to help everybody to do. And that's part of the reason for these videos. And we're going to be talking to these 2 a whole lot more. We've got more videos coming up. And you can look them up because you're going to want to see them. You're going to want to talk to them. You're going to want to know more about them. firearmsacademy.com is their website, and it's Tom and Diane Walls. And you're going to want to know their name. We'll be back with another video.